Welcome to another episode of Mood India, a look at the performing arts from India. Today, in the continuing series on classical music, we bring Santoor, played by Madan Oak, accompanied by Ravi Gutala on Tabla. Madan Oak was born and brought up in India. He grew up singing and playing the tabla. At the age of 19, after listening to an awe-inspiring live music concert by the Santoor maestro Pandit Shivkumar Sharma, Madan decided to focus on Indian classical music and on Santoor. Santoor was not and still is not easily available. Madan took up on the challenge of building his own Santoor and has been with it and Indian classical music for the last 20 years. He has played to the audiences at the concerts in the US, India radio stations in India, and the local TV stations in the Bay Area. He is also an active organizer of Indian classical music performances. Away from music, he is a master's in physics and majored in computer management. He runs a computer software consulting business with his wife in the Bay Area. Ravi Gutala, the percussionist, is originally from Hyderabad, India. He started his tabla training under Sri P. Anjaya, a senior radio artist in Hyderabad. Currently, Ravi resides in San Jose, California, and for the past 14 years, he has continued his tabla training under Pandit Swapan Chaudhary at the Ali Akbar Khan Music College in San Rafael. He has also been teaching tabla to a number of aspiring students in the Bay Area. Ravi has won numerous awards and has performed for the radio stations in India and has accompanied many noted vocal and instrumental artists. Turning now to Santoor and Madan. This is indeed a very different Indian classical string instrument. It doesn't have a gourd. What is its origin?
Well, the name Santoor is basically a Persian word. It means 100 strings. So this instrument has 100 strings on it, and this comes from the Valley of Kashmir. This is a very old Indian instrument which comes from the northern part of India, the Valley of Kashmir. It was, and it is still a folk instrument, and it used to be played as an accompanying music instrument to the vocalist who would sing the Sufiana Mosiki kind of poetry. And this was taken up with the help of the priests and the Sufis that would travel around the world and the places, and they would take this instrument along with them, and it was taken to different parts of Asia and all over the Europe as well.
So what made it a classical Indian music instrument?
Yeah, this was, like I said, this was a folk instrument originally, and then it was taught by my Guruji's father, Pandit Shivkumar Sharmaji's father, Pandit Umadat Sharma, that this can be a very good classical instrument. Indian classical music is kind of tough to play in the sense it needs a lot of techniques, and it needs a lot of intrications in the way you play an instrument. So this was not actually to the standard that time. This was just a pure folk instrument earlier. And then as he made more and more progress in thinking about this instrument, his son, my Guruji, Pandit Shivkumar Sharma, he thought of a lot more ideas on this instrument, and he improvised this instrument quite a bit. And today now what we see is a 50-year-old history on this instrument in Indian classical music arena.
So it's a pretty recent change.
Actually, it's a very old instrument, but it is so funny that it is a very, very recent addition to the Indian classical music as such.
So what kind of changes did he make?
He first of all changed the way this particular instrument was played, tuned, and it looked and everything. So originally this was a 100-string instrument, literally meaning 100 strings on it. The Sanskrit name for this instrument was Shatatantri Veena. Shatatantri means, Shata means 100, Tantri is like the strings, and Veena was a generic name for all the instruments in that time. The Vedic name, there is a reference in Veda about this instrument under the category of Veena. In those days, there were naturally no metal strings or things like that. So they used to use like animal guts or maybe a dried piece of grass, those kind of things they would use. But later on, as this particular instrument's history, they were using totally different kind of strings. That time they were not really giving the entire range that we look for in an Indian instrument for any classical performance as such. This instrument now provides 3 octaves of range, from the lower saptak to madhya saptak and the tar saptak. So those kind of changes by Guruji did. He changed the tuning pattern on this also. Earlier there were 25 bridges, what you see here, 25 bridges were there, and each would have 4 strings on it. So that would constitute 200 strings that way. But it was so tedious to tune those 4 strings on each bridge. So what he came up with the idea was he changed the number down to 3 strings per note. That way the volume also was changed, the ease of tuning also was there, and also there was too much volume in this instrument earlier, and they used to play like this on the stand, so the box would naturally resonate more. So he changed that, and he started playing it on the lap like what I'm holding right now. So it dampens the instrument a lot. This is a big box here, you see, this is a wooden resonating box, so it's a pretty big box, so it creates a lot of volume. So he changed the technique in which it was tuned. He changed the strings on this instrument. He brought in a lot more bass notes as well. And most important thing was the tuning technique and the way we play on this instrument.
So did he bring more precision to the instrument?
Yes, I would say he brought a lot more precision, a lot of thinking was done in this, and all the credit goes to him on this.
So can you describe the instrument? It looks very elaborate.
It's a wooden box. This instrument is totally wooden. It's purely acoustic instrument. There are no electronics, nothing in this instrument, just pure acoustic instrument. It's a hollow box, if you see under here, and there are nails on the left side, there are tuning pegs on the right side, and there are metal strings across. These are cast iron strings. Some of them are wound strings, like for the guitar we use the bass strings for guitar. Those kind of strings we are using here. Very thin strings on the top, broader, and much more thicker strings at the bottom for the lower octaves. And basically you tune this instrument with this kind of a key, and you tune each and every single note on this instrument using this key, and you can change the note by turning it in and out the way you want. That's how you tune the instrument.
So I see 3 strings on each of the bridges.
Yes.
Do they have the same note?
Yeah,
Are they tuned the same?
Yeah, each and every bridge carries 1 note of the octave. So you have to tune each and every bridge according to the scale and according to the note that you really want to play on this. Now, what the technique that my Guruji has developed is to tune the notes that we need in a raga on the right side, and any other swaras, like what we're talking about is the kanaswara or any other swaras that we really don't need directly in the raga, you tune them on the left side. So in case if you are playing a Mishra rag or any rag where you really don't need them, but once in a while you might use those notes, so you tune them on the left side. So that is how he made the changes in the tuning style as well. Earlier it used to be only 7 notes. There were no komal rishabs, there were no komal gandhars or nothing of that sort. So they were all pure 7 notes. He changed that style to tune the other notes as well in here.
So are there any resonating strings there that are not directly?
No, there are no sympathetic strings in this instrument like sitar or some of the other instruments. There are only actual playing strings. You play on all of them, and the way you play this instrument is by these wooden mallets. We call them kalam or mizrab. These are made up of walnut wood, and you strike the curved surface of this striker onto the middle portion of these bridges. You don't play on the side, you play in the middle only. Now the way these strings are arranged, they are like a crisscross. So when you are playing this note and this note, you won't play this note. So it is at a lower level than the other 2. So that way you have all the notes available, but you can have a distinction between the 2 notes as such.
So is that how you create a continuous note?
No, Some people think that it is very simple to play santoor because all the notes are available here and you just strike on it wherever you want, but that's not true. Each and every stroke that we play on this instrument is very distinct and it has to be very clear as such. So it cannot be like this or like that. It has to be very clear like this, for example. Like that.
So how do you create the effect of the mean or the continuous note?
That's the most important aspect of Indian music, that you need the continuity of the note. There are various ways of bringing the continuity in the note is repeatedly hitting it. That's one way, but that's not what we do here in Santoor. What we do is something called as gusset or glide. There are various techniques in that. Let me show you the continuity part of it. Like this is a percussion instrument basically. So when you hit it once, that's the end of the note, but if you want to sustain it, you have to either repeatedly hit it again and again, or you can do something like this.
So is the striker actually bouncing on the little vibrations in the string?
Yes, it is doing that, but there is a very distinct method of controlling is by using these two fingers. You roll them back and forth like that and you keep the sustain going like that. So it's a practice thing. You have to practice a lot about it.
Now, how do you use it as a? How do you keep the rhythm in one? I see you used your left striker.
That's the style of how we play this instrument. There are various styles people have developed over the period of time how to play this instrument, but the one which I follow is developed by my Guruji. So in that style, there is a training method behind that, and we go through a certain training of how we play those notes. There is a specific progression in which we play these notes and the way we practice them. So coming back to your question was how do we
use
both the strikers? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so this left striker is called the Ra. We call it Ra, and this is the Da. So we make the combinations of Ra and Da, and then using those two combinations, this is a percussion instrument, so there has to be some kind of a pattern that we follow. So we train ourselves with different variations and combinations of Ra Da Da, like that. So like for example, I will say, if I want to say play simple Saregama Pada Nisa on that, I will just say Saregama. So one stroke of left and 3 strokes of right. That is how you will go. If you want to do multiple of those, then
okay. So there is a definite technique to it.
Yeah, the way we have tuned this instrument from top to bottom to the top is the note continuously rises up. The bass frequencies are on the bottom and the higher frequencies are here. The broader the length, the note will be deeper, if you know physics, and so the length is inversely proportional to the frequency. So the length is more here, so the note will be lower. Let me demonstrate you some of the features and the way we can play this instrument as such. So as I said, this is purely a percussion instrument, so all the strokes that you are doing they need to be calibrated and counted as such. So let me show you the different paltas first. That will enable you to understand how.
What is a palta?
Palta is a rhythmic pattern, and and a ascending and a descending order that you
Of
train
notes.
of notes that you train your hand to basically, and you learn them, and then
So it is almost like scales, practicing.
those
of
are practicing scales, exactly.
Okay.
And but with the different combinations of notes as such.
Okay.
So let me show you the paltas, and then I will get into the alap part of it, as is what the alap, jod, jhala, and then we will get on to the actual.
Are you going to be
demonstration.
showing the paltas like for a particular rag?
Right now, this instrument is tuned for rag Rageshri.
Okay.
So let me show you some of the combinations that you can do using the left and the right hand combinations as such.
Okay.
These are simple progression on the right hand side. We didn't do much on the left hand side other than just giving it a stroke once in a while. But if I want to do a progression of 2 notes, like what we call as dhir dhir, it will be something like that. So that will be dhir dhir part of it, and there is also the other faster part of it is what is called as jhala. So that one typically goes in a 1-3 combination. So that will be something like this.
So it looks like you kept the rhythm with your right striker,
Yeah.
and you kept the left striker moving between notes.
But the pressure on the should be same, so that there is no difference in the sound level as such. You should not be able to distinguish between the two. The left one gives the force behind it actually, and keeps it in keeps the right in the rhythm.
How do you use the resonating chikari strings?
Typically, there are 4 strings only on this particular bridge. These 4 strings are tuned to, first 2 strings are tuned to the Madhya Saptak D. This instrument is tuned to the D note, or the Sa is the D in this particular instrument. So first 2 are the D, and the next one depend on what raga you are playing. Now I have tuned it to Dhaivat and Gandhar, which are part of the raga. So that way it forms a chord for the rag. So
do you keep that for the chikari, or?
Yeah, there are different patterns, and when we play those patterns, that time this becomes like a chikari for sitar, something like that.
Okay. Do you ever use a dampening of the?
Yes, those are
strings?
techniques for the what we call as performance techniques as such. So for that, let me have some tabla here so we can show something. That is how you.
When you are muting the resonance.
Basically, you are trying to mute the string that is playing.
So can we have a little?
Let's go ahead and play some Rageshri in Madhyalaya Teen Tal.
enjoyed this episode of Santoor with Madan Oak and Ravi Gutala. We'll continue this conversation in the next episode. Thank you and good night.